Welcome to Hamster Hearthstone. Hello guys, how are you doing? As you know, the next Hearthstone expansion, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, is around the corner, and I think it's time for me to give you my first impression on the cards that are about to be released in this set. Not all of the cards have been revealed yet. So far we know only 74 out of 132. But I think it's a large enough sample to have a first opinion about the set. So let's jump right into it. First of all, we have the Grimy Goons, and this is a very interesting mechanic that they introduce with this new expansion. You can see this label or this sort of flag in the left corner here, and this symbol means that those cards are only usable by 3 of the classes. So those are not specific class cards, but they can be used by 3, by warriors, hunters, and paladins. And there are going to be more such cards later on that we'll see. So the Dong Han Cho is a 7 mana 5/6, which is mediocre stats to be honest, but the battle cry is give a random minion in your hand +5/+5. And this is going to be a new theme in this expansion, buffing cards that are in your hand so that they are stronger when you play them later. I don't know if this particular card on turn 7 giving this rather huge buff will be strong, because even though the buff is huge, on turn 7 a 5/6 is not very strong, and if you drop, your opponent will be expecting this huge minion the turn after, so they can prepare for it. So this is like a little bit over investing in terms of mana crystals and in terms of the buff. It might be much better to have a lower cost minion buff for a lower amount and just have more of them. And that's exactly what the Grime Street Smuggler does. So it's 3 mana to 4, which is okay stats. And the battle cry is give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. So this is very important that that's a 3-drop. Let's say you play this 3-drop and have a 4-drop in your hand. So most of the 4-drops are really borderline OP. So they are not OP, but if you buff them just a little, they might just get out of control. And a +1/+1 on a 4-drop might be exactly what they need to become really strong. So I think this mechanic is really cool, and people are gonna definitely try to play them and make them competitive, and I'm looking forward to seeing those kind of plays. The third card we see here is another theme that they introduce. The Grime Street Informant is one of those cards that will let you discover one card out of those 3 classes that are allowed to play this card. So you can discover a hunter, paladin, or warrior card. For 2 mana 1/1, it's just a body on the board early game that just serves the purpose of distracting your opponent, I guess, for a short amount of time. But you don't lose value by playing this, because you get to discover a new card which can be tailored to your needs to counter the deck that your opponent is playing, right? So the way Constructed works is there are just a few strong decks that everyone knows, and once you encountered your opponent, you know what they're playing, and so discover mechanics are really strong. So I'm not quite sure if this will be locked to the particular class that you're playing. So let's say if you're playing warrior, whether you will only be able to discover warrior cards for this. If you play warrior and are allowed to discover hunter or paladin cards as well, this would be super OP. So if this is how it works, I'm 100% sure this card is going to be played and it's going to be strong. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Okay, so moving on to the Cabal. Again, the Cabal are those new themed cards with this emblem in the left corner. And the Cabal cards can be played by Warlock, Mage, and Priest. First of all, we have the legendary Kazakus. It's a 4 mana 3/3, which is not too impressive, but its battle cry lets you um, create a custom spell if your deck contains no duplicates. So obviously this card is only good in Reno Jackson decks, right? But I've seen the video where it was demonstrated what kind of spell is being created from this guy, and those spells are OP. Like you have a choice to create a 1 mana spell or 5 mana spell or even 10 mana spell, and then pick two effects that you want to give the spell, and those effects are really great. I mean, we're talking about like deal 6 damage to everything on the board or something like that, and additionally spawn a minion or something. So I'm pretty certain that this card is definitely going to appear in the Reno Jackson decks that even currently are already played, and it will make those decks stronger. To follow that mechanic up, or to give another option for the Reno Jackson decks, we have the Cabal Chemist that also nicely fits in this archetype. Again, it's a 4 mana 3/3, and the battle cry is add a random potion to your hand. So I'm not sure whether those potions are the ones we know from Rogue class, or maybe it's a new one. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. But the Rogue potions already are pretty good. Okay, and third card here in the Cabal class, a Cabal subsection, is again a 3 mana 2/2, which has a similar effect to the Grime Street Informant. So the Cabal Courier lets you discover a Mage Priest or Warlock card. And again, if you can choose out of class cards with this mechanic, it will be super powerful, I think. I don't think that they overlap. Yeah, so there's no overlap in classes, so none of them, like you couldn't play a single class that could play this one and this one together, which is a bit, yeah, I mean that's probably a balancing issue. That would be too overpowered if you could do that. Alright, so the next card is the Jada Lotus section. In the Jada Lotus section, so again, it's a card that can be played only by those 3 classes: Druid, Rogue, and Shaman. And in this section, we only know this one. I guess they will be releasing more. If it's going to be 3 cards in each section, then we are still missing 2 in this one. Lotus Agents, a 5 mana, 5/3. Battlecry, discover Druid, Rogue, or Shaman card. Yeah, so that again follows the same theme that we've seen before. And obviously that's a Rogue card because it just aims to have a large attack value, somewhat beefy health, I guess. Just wants to go face. I don't know if 5 mana cost is strong enough. It might be a bit late, so yeah, I would have preferred this to be like a 3 mana card that might be like a 3/2 over this. Yeah, well, it's their decision, I guess. And now we move on to the actual class cards. The Druid gets a legendary that costs 10 mana and is just 7/7, which doesn't look too exciting, right? But it has the choose one mechanic that we know from Druid, and you can either gain 10 armor or refresh your mana crystals. And I think this is very good. I mean, if the meta is going to slow down, which it probably will, because I don't think that there are too many aggressive cards that are being released in this expansion, then it might actually pay off to play this dude and just have a 0 mana 7/7 on turn 10. If it is possible to get to turn 10 consistently without losing, like in 90% of your games, then this is a very strong card. Okay, so the next one is Lunar Visions. 5 mana, draw 2 cards, minions drawn, cost 2 less. I don't know. I think Druid has better draw mechanics which are more flexible. Like you can either draw 3 cards for 5, I think, or get mana crystals, which is way better than just reducing the cost of 2 cards. But who knows? Maybe this stacking of cost reduction on really huge minions might be very powerful. So yeah, I'm not betting on this card to be great. Let's say that. Okay, 3 mana, Pilfered Power. Gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion. And that does not remove them at the end of turn. So it might be a thing to innervate turn 1, play a bunch of tokens, a bunch of small minions, and then coin this thing on turn 2, let's say. And that would be a huge boost, but okay, of course it would mean that one has to use up many cards in hand, so this is kind of balanced. I think still this is a strong card in certain archetypes that people might try to design around it. If they fail to design a deck that works with this specific card perfectly, it will not see any play. But if they succeed and the deck is going to be OP, this has the potential to spiral out of control, I think. Like you can combine this with that, for instance. If you gain a bunch of mana crystals early on, you can afford to play this sort of cards to draw into your deck and reduce the mana cost. So this is a ramp mechanic that we're used to from druids, and it might be very strong, but yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be the case. Mark of the Lotus, give your minions +1/+1. I don't like this card. I think it fits well into this theme that you want to get a bunch of small minions early on to ramp up, let's say, and then buffing them is the obvious next step. But I think there are already enough cards in the game that buff them and are more flexible. Like for 2 mana, you can either spawn a minion or buff your minions. So this card is going to be competing with the other one for the slot, and I think the other one is just straight out better. Okay, so let's move to the Hunter cards. The Hunter legendary is called Knuckles. For 5 mana, you get a 3/7 body beast. And it says after this attacks a minion, it also hits the enemy hero. Wow. Well, it's nice to see that this costs 5, because otherwise, if it was slightly smaller and cost less, it would be an auto-include in every face deck. Even at 5, it is still a good candidate, I think. Especially with mechanics that buff your minions in your hand before you play them. If this gets buffed by some significant amount, it can just destroy the opponent in like just a few swings. And notice that the taunt mechanic doesn't help. So in Arena, this will be probably really great. But yeah, the 3 attack is fair. If it had more than 3 attack, it would be OP. But right now, it's okay. It has the potential to be powerful. 5 mana to 4, Piranha Launcher. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 Piranha. Yeah, I think this is a filler card. I can't imagine a single scenario where this card could be good. Just because it costs 5 and has only 2 attack. And spawning a 1/1 Piranha, who cares, right? It's turn 5 or 6. People need to play bigger minions or bigger threats at this stage in the game. Okay, 3 mana to 2. Rat Pack. Death Rattle, summon a number of 1/1 rats equal to this minion's attack. Obviously, we again see that buffing minions is a big theme in this expansion. If this gets buffed in your hand before you play it, obviously you get a larger amount of rats, which is good. So a 3 mana to 2 is a bit weak, but if you buff it even once, it becomes very, very playable. And even at 3 mana to 2, the least amount of value you get is a 3 mana 4/4 divided over 3 minions, right? So I think it's a solid card, and it's a beast as well, which is great because you can even buff it on the board after you play it. Yeah, so I'm not sure if face hunters are gonna go a bit slower now and include this as a 3-drop. If it's too slow, they might just decide to do other things, but it has a potential to be included in some decks. Okay, so the next one, a Dispatch Kodo. 4 mana to 4. Battle Cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack. And this is great. Just remember the Druid card. Remember Druid of the... what was it? Claw? Fang? One of those was dealing 2 damage for 4 mana and had the same stats. And it was auto-include in every single deck. Okay, it also had the option to silence a minion, which this one doesn't have, but this one can deal more damage if it's buffed. So I think this is a good trade-off, and this is going to be a solid, strong card, even in face decks, because it is basically a spell for 4 mana that puts a solid body on the board, a beast as well, and deals damage. I mean, what else can you hope for? And face decks probably will include this. Unless of course, the entire deck costs less than 4 mana, then of course that would not be included. But I don't think that's the direction the game is going into. I think the mana curve is going to increase in amount, so we're gonna see a lot more decks running cards that cost more than 4, and then a 4 mana card is gonna be a great include. Alright, so the Truck Beast Rager is a 2 mana 3/2, solid stats. And the battle cry is give a random beast in your hand +1/+1. So this is definitely an auto include in every single face deck. No question is asked. This is just ridiculous. Thankfully it's not a beast, otherwise it would be just completely OP. Alright, so the 3 mana 3/3 Shaky Zip Gunner. Death Rattle, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. And that's a Death Rattle, which is good, I guess, because it's a solid card. Like 3 mana 3/3 is fine. It's not like astonishing, but it's not bad either. And the fact that it has to die to do the additional effect is fair. If it was a Battle Cry, it would be completely off the charts, I think, because 2/2 is way better than 1/1, right? But yeah, if it dies to be able to activate this effect, I think it's fair. And yeah, I think people are gonna try running this. Alright, so now we move on to the mage cards. Ink Master Solia. Battle Cry. If your deck has no duplicates, then the next spell you cast this turn costs 0. Again, we see this really nice theme for Reno Jackson decks. Reno Jackson decks, like now we see that, so there is a working Reno Jackson mage deck, right? And this deck getting a new addition that buffs this specific archetype is huge. Because any card that is specifically tailored to buff a certain deck archetype is going to be way better than just random Kodo or whatever you can include in this sort of deck to just fill the spots that you have to fill just because you can't run two copies of a single card, right? And I think Mage gets more of those cards. So here, Manic Soulcaster, 3 mana 3/4 is solid. Choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy into your deck. So how does this synergize? It seems like you're putting an extra copy of something into your deck, but if you think about it, you can only put this card into your deck if it's already on the board. So if the other card is already on the board, there's going to be no second copy of it in your deck. So this does not screw up the effect of Reno Jackson, right? And that's great. So this gives you the option to run somewhat similar to 2 copies of a single card. That is great. And it's up to you to choose which one you pick. So this definitely also helps the Reno Jackson archetype. Now, Cabal Crystal Runner. Costs 2 less for each secret you've played this game. I don't know. I guess they're trying to push 2 different archetypes for Mage in this expansion. We already know that there are some cards that interact with secrets. There's something like Secret Keeper, I think, who reduces the mana cost, which would definitely fit into the same deck type. But we'll have to see if there are going to be enough cards buffing this archetype, because if there's just this card and the other one, I don't think it's going to be enough to promote the secret theme enough. Oh, and here we see a potion, volcanic potion. I guess that's the type of potion one can expect to find from the other card that we saw previously. So the volcanic potion for 3 mana deals 2 damage to all minions. And this is awesome. Wow, Control Mage is going to be really great, I think. Because now you don't have to wait to turn 7 to play Flamestrike. Turn 3 already deals with early game minions. So just because this card exists, I'm not sure actually if this is a set card, right? It looks like it. It doesn't look like a card that's only created. I'm not sure about this. So if this card is literally part of the set and one can put 2 copies of this into your deck, it's great. That just means there's going to be no rushy type decks around for a while, because this just completely destroys the lock, especially in a mage, which can also ping alongside to dealing the 2 damage and so on. Okay, so this was very missed before, and it's great to see this. Oh yeah, it's definitely included in the set because it has a rarity symbol. I think extra cards that are just created cards would not have this rarity thing. So this must be a card that's actually in the set. Oh, now we have another potion here. Potion of Polymorph, 3 mana. Secret, oh wow, that's an extra secret the mage is getting. After your opponent plays a minion, transform it into a 1/1 sheep. This is similar to Vaporize, let's say. Vaporize is not too great. I think this might be really strong in Arena, let's say. If you're in the late game, no one has any cards left. Let's say you have 1 minion, your opponent has nothing, and you draw into this, and you play it. That just guarantees that any sort of counter minion that the opponent might top deck next turn, it's just going to be a 1/1 sheep. So it's like an insurance card, just as Vaporize would be if you're low on health and the opponent is more likely to go face, let's say. Yeah, it's like a second option for Vaporize. And since Vaporize is not much played in Constructed, let's say, I don't think this will be too strong, but it's a nice inclusion, I think, thematically. Okay, so we have a 1 mana 2/1, which is premium stats. And the battle cry is the next secret you play this turn costs 0. Oh wow, this is great. So we already have a 3 mana 4/3 version of this. And now we also have this 1 mana version. And the fact that it's turn 1 is huge, because turn 1 you wouldn't even be able to play a secret, right? A secret costs 3. So this might so if we see more secret themed cards like this, the secret archetype might be strong. Yeah, but still, even with this one, I think it's getting stronger, but it needs more to actually shine. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Paladin. The Paladin gets a legendary for 3 mana 2/2. It has Divine Shield and Taunt, and the damage dealt by this minion also heals your hero. This can be good with the buff cards that we've seen before, and I think the Paladin will get more of those. But if it, for some reason, does not manage to get buffed, it's kind of mediocre. So it's a card that very much depends on some random effects and is only good in a certain archetype of decks. And that's good, I think. Yeah, that just promotes diversity. So it's a solid legendary, but nothing off the charts like Dr. Boom, let's say. I mean, yeah, I guess they learned the lesson with Dr. Boom. Okay, so the next card is 3 mana, Small Time Recruits. Draw 3 1-cost minions from your deck. Yeah, this card is going to compete with Divine Blessing, I think it's called. Or something like that, which draws cards, as many cards to fill your hand to have the same size as your opponent's hand, right? And in this sort of decks, I think the other card is stronger. And if they're gonna compete against each other, the other card is gonna win. But maybe someone crazy will actually run this and the other card together. So I don't know if that's gonna be good, because in some games you might draw your starting hand consisting of 3 copies of such cards and just immediately lose because of that. So yeah, I think this card is not needed and it's not gonna be played. Okay, so the next one is 1 mana Mean Street Marshal. Death Rattle, if this minion has 2 or more attack, draw a card. Yeah, solid addition to the archetype where you want to buff your minions. 7 mana Grim Street Protector. 7 mana 6/6, a taunt, which is okay-ish. It's, yeah, okay. But the battle cry is give adjacent minions Divine Shield. And this might be really great, because in this sort of deck, you need like a big drop to finish the game with. And also giving the Divine Shields, you might keep your minions that usually will have a large attack value but low health value. You keep them and trade favorably, so this might be a huge removal alongside dropping a big body on turn 7. So I think this is strong if the archetype is going to be strong. Grime Street Enforcer, 5 mana for 4. At the end of the turn, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. This is awesome. Well, it costs 5 mana, that's true. So it's probably not going to be played in the really retarded versions of the deck where only 1 cost minions are played and only buffs and they go face and only face. But if there's going to be an alteration of the deck where medium-sized minions come into employment, then this card is going to be great. Again, if not, it's gonna never see the light of day. But yeah, it's always a bit dependent on the meta that develops, right? Gateway Coder, yeah, for 1 mana. Oh, it's a secret. So the Paladin also gets a secret in this expansion. When a friendly minion dies, return it to your hand. To be honest, I think this is slightly worse than Redemption, because Redemption brings a minion back into play with 1 health. As a Paladin, you don't really care about the amount of health, unless it's a huge minion, right? But Paladins don't really run a lot of huge minions, and if you plan to include those sort of secrets, you probably are running a rushy type of deck. So I think this is strictly worse than the other secret that already exists. Grime Street Outfitter, 2 mana 1/1, which is okay, I guess. Battle Cry, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. And this is great. This will be played in both versions. It's going to be played in the really retarded version that just plays 1-drops, and it's definitely also going to see play in the more late game focused version if it is going to take off. So yeah, definitely going to see this on ladder, I believe. 1 mana, Smuggler's Run. Give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Now, this is worse than that, because this is a buddy, and this is just a card that you play and lose tempo on turn 1. And if you rely on buffing your minions, you're probably better off playing a 1-drop turn 1 than this card. 1 mana, 2/1, premium stats. Gramscale Chum. Battle Cry. Give a random Murloc in your hand +1/+1. And it's a Murloc. Well, yeah, we've seen a couple Murlocs in the Paladin theme. And this one is kinda okay. But yeah, I'm not sure if Murlocs are gonna take off. Like, this Murloc alone is not gonna do it, I think. And finally, we reach the Priest category. The first card that we get is a 6 mana board clear, and it's called Dragonfire Potion. What it does is it deals 5 damage to all minions except dragons. And this is huge. This just means that dragon decks are definitely going to be viable again. And I, for one, am definitely going to try to make a very nice dragon deck. And I'm probably gonna play dragon decks over any of the other classes that we've seen so far. So I'm very excited about this card, and I'm certain that it's going to be great. But Priest also gets more stuff in this expansion, and this is good because Priest was notoriously weak until now, and it's a great thing that it gets buffed now. So for 5 mana, you get a 5/6, which is premium stats, and it's a dragon. So it's an okay drop as is already. And it also has a battle cry, which says, if you're holding a dragon, discover a card in your opponent's deck. Which is awesome. This is a card that generates another card, so you don't lose value by playing it. It has premium stats. It's just overall a solid 5-drop. It might be even OP, I'm not sure. Maybe, yeah. Since the meta is definitely going to slow down, I believe, for one, this is gonna be huge. Okay, so now we see another potion. Now that's a Priest potion. It's a 1-drop. Give all enemy minions -3 attack this turn only. I'm not sure. It's gonna take some space in your deck. It might be very good to, like, you could run 1 copy of it, I guess. 2 copies would be a bit overkill, I think, because you might draw into those and no minions, let's say. So it's only good if you have minions to like trade efficiently after play it. Or there is this Shadow Word Horror still in the deck that kills all minions with 2 or less attack. And combining this could be nice, but I mean, it's a combo of 2 cards, and it's 2 cards that are dead, completely dead, if you draw them separately from each other, and they're dead against certain archetypes like, I don't know, Freeze Mage. So definitely not gonna see the combination of them played, I think. It's not gonna be viable, but the 1 copy of them, of this pin-size potion to trade efficiently with your minions might be good enough. So yeah, we'll have to see. 3 mana, 3/4 is very strong. That's nice. Battle Cry, give a friendly minion 3 health. This is insane. You know, there is this Death Rattle card that you play that gives the same effect. Well, this is even better because it's a Battle Cry. This is insane. This is like the Priest is getting some love this expansion, and I like to see this. Okay, so there is another potion. It's called Potion of Madness, 1 mana. Gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until end of turn. Well, note that the difference with the existing card is that it doesn't get charge or anything. So I guess when you take control of the minion, you won't be able to attack with it. So I'm not sure what use this one has, per se. Maybe there are some combinations one can come up with, but for now, yeah, I don't see how this is too useful. Yeah, but maybe people are gonna invent something that is gonna be useful with this. Alright, so we move on to the rogue cards. Here we only know 3 cards so far. First of all, we have the legendary Shaku the Collector. 3 mana, 2/3, which is meh, but it has stealth, and whenever this attacks, you add a random card to your hand from the class of your opponent. So if you do this once, it's okay. If you do it twice, it's already overpowered. If you do it 3 or more times, it's just insane. But my guess is as soon as you attack with it once, it loses stealth, obviously. The opponent, most of the time, will have a means to deal with it. And so I'm pretty sure it's not going to be groundbreaking. Unless there's going to be more mechanics to give stealth to minions that lost it or something like that. Okay, so the 5 mana Lotus Assassin is a 5/5 card, which is solid. It has stealth, and whenever it attacks and kills a minion, it gains stealth. And this is strong. I think this is a solid card, and it will be played. Oh yeah, the counterfeit coin. So it costs 0, and obviously it just gives you 1 mana crystal this turn only. So it's literally just a coin, but you can put 2 copies of it into your deck, just like that, and use it in Miracle Rogue to draw your cards, I guess, or to accelerate, right? So it's a slightly worse innervate, but it's in the rogue class, which makes it super powerful. We move on to the warlock cards. So the first one is 6 mana Felfire Potion. So apparently the potions for warlocks are gonna be 6 mana, and it deals 5 damage to all characters. And I really like to see this card because it's not promoting, in no way is it promoting Zooey or Rushy type of play. It's promoting control play. And it's actually destroying the Zoolocks or any type of Rushy type decks. So seeing that every single class gets at least one spell, or I mean not every single, but I mean we saw Mage get a spell, Priest get a spell, now the Warlock gets a spell that deals with small minions efficiently. This is good news. This just means that small minions are not going to be as viable as they were before, and this is a good direction for the game to move into, I believe. Now the next one is 4 mana, Sea Devil Stinger, 4/2. Battlecry, the next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana. I don't know, it's just one Murloc. This one costs 4 already. And even though it's a 4, and it's a 4/3, so we know cards exist that are 3 mana 4/3. And this one is 4 mana 4/2. So it's not that it doesn't have premium stats. So even if you get to play this plus another minion for free, kind of, just pay with health, I don't think it's OP. It's not even good enough. So yeah, I don't think this is gonna be great. 3 mana, Blood Flurry Potion. Oh, well, I was wrong. Different potions cost different amount of mana apparently, even in the same class. So the Blood Flurry Potion gives a minion +3 attack. If it's a demon, also 3 health. I think we saw enough cards with this sort of effect in the previous expansions, and it never took off. So I think this is just a useless card. It's just whatever, right? 7 mana, 6/6. Abyssal Enforcer. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all other characters. And this is awesome. Again, this is an effect that destroys small minions and promotes control styles of decks. And yeah, I really like to see this development. The warrior gets a weapon, which is called Brass Knuckles, for 4 mana. It's a 2/3 weapon, and after your hero attacks, it gives a random minion in your hand +1/+1. I think this is too late. If this was a 2 mana 2/3, it would actually be viable and people might consider to play it. But at 4 mana, it's just way too late. I mean, it's, yeah. I don't think this is gonna be a great card. I might be wrong, I mean, it's always possible that you turn out to be wrong at the end. But yeah, I really doubt that the 4 mana 2/3 weapon with this effect is gonna be huge. So for 5 mana, we get a 2/7 Taunt, and whenever this minion deals damage, you gain that much armor. And yeah, this 2 attack right here just calls for mind control by a priest. I don't mean the card mind control, but there are enough means a priest can use to take control of such cards. And as it looked at when we looked at the priest section, it looked very much like the dragon archetype is going to be very strong. And so if priest actually enters the meta in constructed, this card will not see any play at all. But if priest for some reason still turns out to suck, which I don't believe and don't hope, but if that happens, then this card is going to be great. Alright, so at 3 mana 3/3, we have a Grime Street Pawnbroker, which has a battle cry to give a random weapon in your hand +1/+1. I think this is pretty good because 3 mana 3/3 is okay-ish, and if you combine this with a lot of weapons, this always finds a target. So This is probably gonna be an include in the face warrior decks that run smallish minions and a lot of weapons to hit face with. 2 mana, Stolen Goods. Give a random taunt minion in your hand +3/+3. I think this is garbage. It's just losing tempo, and the extra amount of health and attack that the minion gets only is going to be useful in 2 turns from that. So let's say it buffs a 3-drop, you play it next turn and you only get to attack with it the turn after. So it gives the opponent almost 3 turns to prepare to deal with this particular card that gets buffed. And it only buffs a taunt card. If you don't have a taunt card in your hand, you can't even play it. Or, yeah, so that's garbage, I think. Grimy Gadgeteer. 4 mana, 4/3. Which is mediocre stats, so the effect better be good. At the end of your turn, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Okay, this is good. I think this, if the warrior gets more cards like this, we've already seen this one right here, which is not too great, and I don't think this one makes it any better. But if the warrior gets more such effects, it might turn out to be good. I know a guy. 1 mana, discover a taunt minion. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good turn 1 card because generally in constructed, warriors don't do much turn 1. So it's a good card because you get to see what your opponent is playing before you decide what taunt minion you get. Because you get to see the class of your opponent, and maybe you go second and the opponent already did some play turn 1. So I guess it's a good cycle card, but we'll have to see if it takes off. Okay, now finally we arrive at the neutral cards. The first one is a legendary. It's called Madame Goya. 6 mana for 3, which is terrible, but the battle cry is choose a friendly minion, swap it with a minion in your deck. Wow. Now, the question is, if you get to choose the minion in your deck, or if you just get a random one. If it's a random one, this is absolute garbage. If you get to choose the minion in your deck, which I don't believe would happen because that even like technically it's probably very hard to design. They would have to show you the entire library and your entire deck, and you would have to pick a card. I don't think they would do that. So this probably switches the minion that you have in game with something that is just randomly picked from your deck. I guess it might be good if your deck contains only strong minions, and the minion that you cast this on is like a 1/1 token, right? But again, it costs 6 mana, 4/3. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it can take off if you literally just stuff your deck with a few really powerful legendaries, and the rest of your deck are spells that are aimed at maintaining control and creating tokens. So like maybe a druid deck. This might be useful, but I don't see it. Well, I guess I'll be surprised eventually, huh? Alright, so the next one is 5 mana to 4, again, terrible stats. Finja the Flying Star. Stealth, whenever this attacks and kills a minion, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. Yeah, I think this is garbage. 5 mana is way too slow for a Murloc deck. Okay, so the 3 mana, 3/4 Auction Master Beardo. Those are good stats, and the effect is after you cast a spell, refresh your hero power. I don't know about that. Yeah, Inspired X. Yeah, if this is the only card the Inspired X get in this expansion, then I don't see it being any use at all. So this is a good attempt, but not good enough, I think. 1 mana, 1/1, charge. Patches the pirate. After you play a pirate, summon this minion from your deck. So it's like a free 1/1 that you get whenever you play a pirate. Yeah, if Pirate decks. I guess one could play pirate decks just for fun. I doubt that they will be competitive in any manner, but this is a fun card, I think. It's just, yeah, for fun it's fine. 6 mana, 5/5. Wind up, Burglebot. Whenever this attacks a minion and survives, draw a card. Not good enough. It's just garbage. Okay, so now we get to What? Leather-clad Hodge leader. What? Hog leader. I see. Leather. Oh, I see. Leather-clad hog leader. Oh my god. Okay. So 6 mana, 6/6 is fine, I guess. Battle cry: if your opponent has 6 more cards in hand, gain charge. 6 or more cards in hand, gain charge. Wow. Yeah, very situational. It's a fine 6-drop in arena. I mean, 6/6 is fine. If you're super behind in arena, I guess that's very useful. I can't see this being played and constructed. I mean, what would you even play this against? Maybe like Freeze Mage. But otherwise, yeah, who knows? Maybe, yeah, if the meta slows down considerably and people consistently have 6 or more cards in hand, then this is gonna be great. But otherwise, yeah, we'll have to see. 3 mana, 3/7 is, wow, this is amazing. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to this minion. I guess this is a decent priest card, so you'll get to heal it, or maybe you wanna silence it, silence priest. So I guess one can try it in the silence priest. We'll have to see if it's good enough though. Dirty Red, 2/6 for 2 mana. Yeah, you see correctly, it's a 2/6 for 2. Taunt, battle cry: your opponent summons a random minion from their hand. And that might just mean that they get a Ragnaros on turn 2. So it's a huge risk. It's just another card to counter aggressive decks. I think there is enough spells introduced in this expansion that deal nicely with aggressive decks. And this would just be the last nail into the coffin, I think. If all the spells we've seen so far are not enough to stop the aggressive decks, this is gonna stop them. And yeah, happy to see it. 5 mana, 4/5. Second-rate Bruiser. Taunt costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. Again, very nice card to stop aggressive decks, because it's a 3-drop basically if you're playing against a Zulok. Because a Zulok definitely is gonna have 3 or more minions, right? So again, very nice card. 5 mana, Bomb Squad. 2/2, which is terrible, but it has a battle cry: deal 5 damage to an enemy minion, and the death rattle: deal 5 damage to your hero. So basically, it's a worse Bomb Lobber, right? Like, battle cry, 1 more damage to a minion than the Bomb Lobber for the same amount of mana and worse stats, and then it even deals damage to your hero? No way, yeah, just go with the Bomb Lobber. Okay, so now 5 mana, 5/5, which is okay. Battle cry: if an enemy minion has taunt, gain charge. Wow, this is strong. This has potential. Again, a pretty nice card to keep certain archetypes in check. But I don't think the taunt mechanic needs to be kept in check. It first would have to develop into something strong first, right? So it's a very good arena card for sure, because taunts are very strong in arena. But in constructed, we probably are not gonna see this one. 5 mana, 2/2. Doppelgangster. Battle cry: summon 2 copies of this minion. Oh, well, if you buff this, let's say to a 4/4, it's gonna be a 5 mana, 4/3, 4/4s, right? Or if you're playing an evolved deck with a shaman, it's 5 mana, gives you 3 6-drops, which is awesome. So I guess people definitely are gonna try to play this one. 4 mana, 4/4. Backroom Bouncer. Whenever a friendly minion dies, gain 1 attack. Yeah, meh. Yeah, I guess it's fine in arena, but otherwise, don't bother. 6 mana 1/1. What? Battle Cry. Summon a 6/6 Ogre, which is good. It's a decent card. It's like 7/7 worth of stats for 6 mana, which is great. And it even distributes the mana, the attack and health value between 2 cards. So a decent arena card, probably not gonna be played and constructed though. 5 mana, 3/5, Wind Fury. This is garbage, just forget about it. Move on. 4 mana, 6/3. Again, no effect. This is garbage. It's just doesn't even trade with a. I mean, it trades with a 4 or 5 drop, but it also trades easily with a 2 drop. So losing this for a 2 drop is just sad. So don't even think about this one. 4 mana, 4/4, Battle Cry. Swap the attack and health of a minion. Yeah, we know that there is a 2 mana 2/2 version of this, and if you're playing this card, you probably play it for its effect and not its stats. So just the 2 mana 2/2 version is better. 4 mana 4/4 again. Tenaris Hog Chopper. Battle Cry. If your opponent's hand is empty, gain charge. Wow. Very conditional. Well, the stats are fine. The effect is kind of weird. Good arena card for sure. And constructed, probably not good enough. So for 3 mana we get a Hired again, which has 4/3 taunt. I think it's, yeah, again, a decent arena card, and that's it. 3 mana, 3/1, Backstreet Leper. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. This one is worse than the original Leper Gnome when it was 2/1 for 1. Of course, the original one has been nerfed to be a 1/1 now, but still, I think this doesn't make this card good. It's just too slow. Even if it was a 2 drop, I think it wouldn't be good enough at 1 health. If it was a 2 drop, 3/2 with the same effect, then it would be playable. But as it is, it's just garbage. Now we have 3 mana 4/3, which is good stats. Toxic Sewer Ooze. Battle Cry, remove 1 durability from your opponent's weapon, which is great. It's a nice card to play on its own. It's like an ooze, almost, because many weapons have 2 charges, and the turn they are played, the opponent swings with them already, so they are left with 1 charge. And if it's played against Gorehowl, it's just amazing. So definitely gonna see this card in some decks at least, if the weapons become strong in this meta. Now we have a 2 mana 2/1, which is meh. It's a Murloc. Battle Cry, deal 1 damage. Not good enough. 2 mana 2/3, which is fine. At the end of your turn, restore 1 health to your hero. Yeah, a filler card. It doesn't serve any purpose really. It's just, I guess it's a fluffy card just for the vibe. 1 mana 2/2, which is, wow, this is great. And it's a Mistress of Mixtures. Death Rattle. Restore 4 health to both players, and this is fair. And this also prevents it from being run in an aggressive deck, which is good mechanics. It will be probably appearing in some control type decks just to make sure that the early game is kept in check. Okay, so it seems that we've covered all the cards released so far. Let me know if you guys agree with my opinions on the cards that we've seen so far. I'm definitely excited about this expansion. Definitely gonna play Priest. I'm gonna play a lot of Priest when the expansion hits. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. And see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, you are awesome.